time. Once again, I am Leviza Josh Cramy, joined behind the desk by the wonderful, the glorious, the esteemed Joe Brown.
Wow, I don't know if I could live up to all that pressure.
I'm going to keep adding an adjective each time it happens, okay? One day we'll get to like 10 adjectives. It'll be great.
Oh, man, yeah, that'll be pretty. Maybe one day I'll have as many last names as you, you know?
That could happen. You never know.
I'm very excited, though, for this last match here as we look at the standings, Lou, and see going into
be the faster. Going for things like that Icy Wind or Tailwind have been key things. But let's jump into the battle. It's going to be King Gambit and Fluttermane on Collin's side of the field, and Aurelia's side. You have got that Mousehold and Dragonite.
King Gambit is a really nice bring in game one. You would expect typically people will have King Gambit in the back if they don't really think something's going to get intimidated. There is no intimidate on Aurelia's side anyway. So to lead King Gambit shows that you actually want to output a lot of pressure with it early on. And looking at Collin's King Gambit, it is a flying Terra type if you wanted to get rid of that 4 times weakness to fighting. But the other thing that is nice is by having access to low kick, you would have a super effective attack into the Mousehold if it tries to redirect any attacks towards its direction with a follow me.
That's really true. Of course, Mousehold, has that flexibility, and we're going to see a terrestrialization right off the bat here. It's going to be that Dragonite going for its flying Terra type, going to be able to deal even more damage with any flying type moves that it is rocking in the form of Terra Blast here.
Yeah, Terra Blast we've seen just so strong, it gives you the same type attack bonus, and critically you are now no longer weak to Dazzling Gleam.
Yes, exactly. A nice defensive Terra here. You can see in retaliation here, we're going to see the Terra Blast come out from the Dragonite, going to connect down onto that opposing Fluttermane, and it is going to get the one-hit knockout.
That is not a bulky Fluttermane. Surprised that it lived the hit yesterday, but not that one. Obviously, it is much weaker on its defensive side than it is its special defense, so that's definitely why it doesn't hang on from that attack where it hung on from the Iron Bundles hit yesterday. But the Mousehold, it's targeted towards the Fluttermane, but since it was a ghost type, it was unable to really do anything. Looks like it didn't really matter that much since it was able to get the KO anyway. But now that Iron Bundle is out, this is an assurance dream scenario for King Gambit, because Icy Wind, as long as it connects onto both targets, will activate Assurance's double damage, prerequisite that it needs to do the extra attack on it, and King Gambit would be very strong into either of these Pokemon. Yeah,
King Gambit having a great time there. I did like the coverage option from Aurelia there, going for that Super Fang, just in case the mouse had wanted to switch out there, you'd be able to catch an attack on the switch in. But we're going to see another terrestrialization here, this time coming out from Collin's side of things, and it's going to be that Iron Bundle, going to be packing a heavier punch with that Ice Terror as well. So meaning that any of the potential Icy Winds or Freeze Tries it wants to go for are going to be able to deal even more damage, and particularly as the Dragonite is still flying type, it's still got that weakness to ice, even if it has dropped the Dragon typing. King Gambit's going to go first with a Sucker Punch, obviously going to fail. You've got that redirection of the Follow Me from the Mousehold, and Iron Bundle just going for the nice spread attack to bypass that redirection with the Icy Wind. It's going to be able to not quite get the KO, but does do a little bit of chip damage and lower the speed of both of Aurelia's Pokemon.
Even with the extra stab that Terra Ice provided, the Icy Wind was not enough to knock out Dragonite, and you're going to have to pay for that with a critical hit into the Iron Bundle.
This Dragonite is on fire right now, getting 2 big knockouts with that Terra Blast. Amazing plays.
Yeah, I also wonder what the Sucker Punch was for into Mousehold, as obviously you're hoping it goes for a regular attack and you activate the Sucker Punch. Icy Wind plus Sucker Punch would have been enough to knock out the Mousehold, but he targeted into that slot, meaning the intention was to hit it there. So you could have also just went for the Assurance. It's not like Terra Blast is in any threat of knocking out your King Gambit to begin with as well. So kind of a wasted Sucker Punch.
It is indeed, but a snappy extreme speed there to get the final KO onto Aurelia's Dragonite here. So it's going to retreat into its Pokeball, and Aurelia will be forced to bring one of the remaining 2 Pokemon into the back. Mousehold's going to go for a Baby Doll Eyes, though, into the Dragonite. It's going to drop its attack a little bit, but King Gambit can retaliate with that Iron Head so that Collin guarantees a double knockout in this turn.
Right, and so if that attack went into Mousehold last turn instead of the failed Sucker Punch, that would have been the KO. Would have forced Aurelia to bring something in this turn like the Great Tusk. But considering you are a flying type in Dragonite, you're not really too concerned about that, and you could have extreme speeded anyway into that slot. So it's just like kind of a 1-turn delay, but seeing the booster energy on Aurelia's Iron Bundle means it's going to be incredibly fast, and both of Collin's Pokemon on the field are flying Terra types. So you're going to have issues if you decide to terrestrialize either of them. You'll be a super effective either Icy Wind or Freeze Dry into either slot.
Exactly, and that's where the critical moment are for these players to make those adjustments, because you might have a look, and Aurelia's obviously 2 Pokemon down. Collin has the utility to possibly switch one out here and reset.
Yeah, but as you are able to, or excuse me, I'm like just kind of hung up on the Flying Terra because would it help you? Yes, you'll do more damage with your Terra Blast on the Dragonite, but at the at a cost of wasting your Terra, or being forced to use it. Shouldn't say waste, being forced to use it.
Also, is the Flutter Mane down on Collin's side?
The Flutter Mane was down because of the Terra Blast earlier on in the game. It was able to one-hit KO it. Sucker Punch fails critically for Aurelia. That's huge because King Gambit gets no damage on the way out as Great Tusk is able to one-hit KO it in return, and Collin is down to just his Dragonite now.
Amazing. Can focus back on the Dragonite. That's on me, Joe. Throwing you, of course, having a look at the Pokemon. But this is the key thing. Aurelia has been able to now make sure that you've got the Great Tusk and the Iron Bundle in a great position to deal some damage to this opposing Dragonite. At the end of the day, Dragonite's still in a good situation against the Great Tusk. There's not necessarily a lot that it can do. It's running those ground type moves. We don't see a Terra on this Dragonite, obviously, to be able to put itself in any kind of grounded position, and close combat's not going to do too much. But of course, there is those ice type moves that can come out from the Iron Bundle. Yeah,
so either way, if you terrestrialize or not, Dragonite is still weak to the Icy Wind, right? All it does is just change the I'm also just thinking about the terrestrializing wrong. That's on me. Totally forgot Iron Bundle actually did Ice Terra earlier on in the game. So that was used. Obviously, Collin does not have access to Terra anymore. That's on me.
Well, the Dragonite's still hanging on here, Joe. It's able to try and get Collin an edge into this match at some point, but considering the 2v1 deficit, there's really not a lot that can be done. Dragonite, again, in a position where it only has single target attacks, so Aurelien really just needs to go for any move here that's going to be able to connect close combat. You can always go for that Freeze Dry as well, and that will clean up game 1 for Aurelia.
Yeah, that's a really clean game out of them for this game 1. Obviously, the mouse hold was just such a problem that even on turns it wasn't doing anything. Just the threat of it, its pure existence was somewhat of a nuisance to Collin's team, and that's really thanks to the Friend Guard. You take less damage from your teammates take less damage from hits on the other side. So it forced Collin to really try to target down Mousehold as quickly as possible, which let the other Pokemon on Aurelia's side actually take advantage of it.
Exactly, and you can see a commanding victory there from Aurelia in game 1. But of course, this is a best-of-3 set, Joe. Everybody can reset going into the next game and focus down on how they're going to make these adjustments. Collin obviously 1 game down. He really, really wants this. We saw yesterday how much it means to him to keep advancing in this competition. What adjustments do you think Collin could make going into game 2?
Well, we did just see his North American brethren, Alberto, lose game 1 against Sam and then win the next 2. So it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. I really do like King Gambit in this matchup. I think the Sucker Punch scenarios are very difficult to deal with as long as Mouse holds on the field, because a Follow Me could redirect it away. But I think now that Collin has confirmed that the Ice Terra Icy Wind plus attack combo was not enough for the knockout onto the other side, maybe you don't need to use your Terra on Iron Bundle right away, especially that early, because it would have been nice as King Gambit, who was 4 times weak to flying, if you had access to Flying Terra on it later on in the match. You're not so worried about close combat from Great Tusk, right?
I completely agree. It was nice seeing the Ice Terra, but really, you don't need it for that Icy Wind chip damage. You're not going to reap the benefits from it. You're right. If it was possibly saved for a more defensive play, then King Gambit could have had a little bit more longevity on the field, and those Sucker Punches could have maybe found the connection it needed.
Yeah, and then so looking on Aurelia's side, obviously the strategy worked out very well. I think it is important to use Mouse Hold as effectively as you can in having the access to Super Fang. Make sure you don't Super Fang into the Ghost type. He obviously anticipated the Flutter Mane to change Terra typings there, so it would have been able to hit it. But Baby Doll Eyes is really nice into the physical attackers like Dragonite that are on Collin's team. Don't Baby Doll Eyes the King Gambit, because I guess you'll have to find out why you shouldn't do that. Hopefully Aurelia at this point, being 10-3, is a strong enough trainer to understand that interaction, but those physical attacker like Great Tusk or Dragonite really don't want to take it. So I think a lot of this matchup comes down to, can Collin get rid of the mouse hold so his strategies work, and can Aurelien conserve mouse hold long enough to help everybody out?
That is the question, but let's jump into game 2. You've got Mousehold and Fluttermane on Collin's side of the field, opposing against the Golden Go and the Mousehold. Now, I really like this situation here. Golden Go is able to hit really hard with something like a Make It Rain. That's something Fluttermane has to avoid, and Mousehold doesn't want to take that either.
This was the interaction we talked about in Team Preview. Golden Go and Fluttermane both being ghost types. If they terrestrialize, it changes the matchup drastically. Collin is pumping his fist. He's really excited.
Yeah, well, it looks like Fluttermane has caught the Shadow Ball, not fearing about the Follow Me. A helping hand Shadow Ball gets the one-hit KO on that opposing Golden Go. It's down and out.
That is the perfect turn 1 out of Collin by Collin. Obviously, if the Shadow Ball gets redirected into a normal type, that would be disastrous. But I guess, as Collin Heier likes to say, it doesn't matter how much damage they can do if they can't do any damage.
You got to be brave and bold to make the plays, and that's exactly what Collin has done here, calling that read perfectly. Now, if you're Aurelia, you've got to come back from this. You still have your Mousehold in a good position, and Mousehold can still apply good support with something like the Follow Me. You've still got access to the Super Fang for the partner Pokemon to that Fluttermane, but Fluttermane is going to be a problem at this point. Great Tusk comes in, though. You could possibly go for, you know, some big damage with those ground-type moves, but really, you need to deal with this Fluttermane as soon as possible.
And now that both trainers have a Mousehold on the field, they both have that Friend Guard utility, right? You both are able to negate some of the damage that your opponent is outputting on the other side, which we know just from Collin's set yesterday, every little hit point matters in a matchup like this, especially when you have so many similar Pokemon.
Yeah, knowing how vulnerable the Fluttermane is there, switching it out, bringing King Gambit in on the action. You got to watch out for something like an Earthquake here, but Collin actually protecting the Mousehold as well, so that Friend Guard's going to stay active and help out King Gambit a little bit. King Gambit's going to have to take the Super Fang, though. 50% HP has been taken away as Close Combat just goes straight into the Protect.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage for King Gambit to lose right away on the switch, and it's not looking as great of a Terra option potentially now that it's already at half HP, because those attacks will still do a lot of damage. It does make a lot of sense just to completely get rid of that 4 times ground fighting weakness or the Earthquake weakness that it would have as a Steel type right now. But that is something that Collin is really having to waver on right now. Am I willing to terrestrialize a half-health Pokemon to keep it around compared to a full-health Pokemon in the back?
Well, that's the thing. Friend Guard's got nothing on a Super Fang, you know. It's going to still be able to take that damage. One terrestrialization out of the blocks, though, and it's going to be the Ground Terror on that opposing Great Tusk. So it's going to be able to hit really hard with something like a Headlong Rush here if it wants to try and get the KO, or possibly just go for the Earthquake, protecting up that Mousehold, do that spread damage. You know, the King Gambit is at limited HP at this point, but Mousehold's going to have something to say about it first. Goes for that Super Fang, takes down the damage. However, here comes that Earthquake.
This is the Terra boosted Earthquake, though, so it essentially negates the Friend Guard.
That's very true. Gonna hit really hard onto both the Pokemon. Mousehold hangs on. King Gambit, not so much. It's down and out.
Yeah, that is super effective. So Collin wavering back and forth. Do I Flying Terra my King Gambit, expecting the ground attack to come out? And unfortunately for him, Aurelien does make the correct call and go for the Terra ground on the Great Tusk, really making the difference there because of the additional boost, because of a same type attack bonus, as Great Tusk was already a ground type. It did that extra damage that, who knows, maybe without terrestrializing there, King Gambit, depending on how it's trained, could have potentially lived. I still think it is super effective, so it's probably not. But now it is all up to this Fluttermane.
Yeah, all eyes on Fluttermane at this point as it tries to do some big damage. You got the Protect on the Mousehold once again. Has Collin called this correctly with the Helping Hand boost? It's going to go for the Dazzling Gleam, so regardless of any redirection, it's still going to be able to hit on the opposing Great Tusk here, and it's enough to get the knockout. I mean, I think you made a completely excellent call about, you know, possibly going for that Flying Terror on the King Gambit, because particularly when you look at Fluttermane, it's running Terra Steel. That's not going to be an ideal thing either, but it looks like the Fluttermane's trying to redeem itself here for Collin.
It's not ideal when you're facing down Ground Terra Great Tusk, but now that it has been knocked out, all Aurelien has left is the Mousehold and Dragonite. Dragonite has a Dragon, Ice, and Flying type attack, so the battle is canceled. I think Aurelien understood once Flutter Mane went into Steel, all of its attacks that could have hit towards it would be resisted, and Friend Guard would have been lowering the damage output as well. So great job by Collin to force a game 3.
Exactly, that Flutter Mane, I think preserving it as he did at the beginning of that game, putting it in the back, making sure that it had the time to come out later and apply that offensive pressure once again to Aurelia's team, just made him force this game 3. I mean, you have to say that game 1 was a little bit of a grind between the two of them, a lot of back and forth. Game 2, Collin just comes straight out of the blocks, helping hand Shadow Ball, goodbye Golden Go, and now we're in this game 3 situation.
Yes, game 2 was a lot faster pace there. Collin makes the correct call that Mousehold was going to protect instead of Follow Me. Those are the really dangerous plays in VGC because the differential swing between making the right call and falling for your opponent's trap can be disastrous, especially they've played 13 plus rounds of Swiss of best of 3s against some of the best trainers in the world that have made it down to Oceania. So to still have your composure and not be too stressed out to trick yourself up on the plays, that's what's really impressive.
Exactly. It's been a long battle for both of these players, and they're now at this final hurdle to advance to the next stage of the competition. It's not just about getting through to day 2. You want to get through to the top 8, and then there's one more hurdle ahead as well to get into that championship Sunday. But at this point, there's one game. That's it. One game separating them from being in that top 8.
Yeah, and I think just looking at how, obviously, you can't just be results-oriented and say, Flutter Mane got a bunch of KOs, therefore, you just do the same thing over again, because Aurelien is a strong enough trainer to make the adjustments. However, I do think that Flutter Mane showed that it is a very key factor in Collin's success, and I don't think you're going to be able to get away with the same trick twice, which is why he doesn't lead it again.
Yeah, exactly. Aurelien has gone for the Golden Go and Mousehold, but is not facing up against a Mousehold and Flutter Mane this time. Instead, it's Dragonite and Great Tusk. Oh,
that was a really confident lock-in from Collin right away. Going for Ground Terra on the Great Tusk. You know you have a flying type teammate next to you in Dragonite, so it's going to be up to Aurelien's adjustment. Last game, he did not terrestrialize the Golden Go right away. Instead, he just left it stay normal. This time around, even if he does, it's still a Steel type, so this Ground Terra boosted Earthquake is going to be really strong. What does Golden Go do?
Oh, I love this here from Collin. Great Tusk avoids the Super Fang. It's now able to go for this Earthquake. You don't need a helping hand when you can Terra into your ground type. Get that 50% boost. It's going to connect on both of Aurelia's Pokemon. Golden Go is not going to be able to appreciate this. It doesn't get the knockout though, but look how limited the HP is on both of these Pokemon.
Looked like he crit the Mousehold as well, so now this Make It Rain is not going to be enough. If that Super Fang hit, you see where Great Tusk is sitting at, right? It's under 50% HP. That would have been a knockout.
That's devastating for Aurelia. Great play, though, identifying that condition with the kind of the text in terms of getting the HP down. You got to know your calculations to be good at this point of the competition. Going forward into this next turn, Great Tusk surely is at risk.
No, well, with Dragonite on that Tailwind on that turn, now you have the speed boost over both of the Pokemon on Aurelien's side. You don't care about a Follow Me redirecting Earthquake, obviously, as a spread attack, and now it might be just safer for Aurelien to let Golden go down and get a free switch into something else next turn.
That's true, and particularly if you're going for Make It Rain, you're going to get those special attack drops. You need a way to either reset them or get off the field to bring in a Pokemon fresh to do some more action. Earthquake comes out once again from the Great Tusk, obviously not affecting Dragonite. The only target really here is going to be that Golden Go, and yes, it is going to go down, but Aurelien now has the opportunity to bring in a Pokemon from the back. The issue, like you've identified, is that Tailwind, though.
Yeah, because now you are going to have a really fast Great Tusk, depending on what Aurelien has on the other side. It is the Iron Bundle, so because of the booster energy that is going to boost its speed by 1 stage, I think I'm pretty confident Great Tusk is still going to outspeed because of the double speed that it had thanks to Tailwind being activated. Regardless, Dragonite's job is to get rid of Mousehold, get rid of this Friend Guard. I want as much damage as possible to hit into the opposing Iron Bundle. And with access to extreme speed, you don't care about the priority. I guess you're going to want to save the 1 HP Mousehold for later for a potential redirection later on.
That's true, and it was obviously a sitting target there to something like the extreme speed. Bring in the Great Tusk that's going to be able to take that much better, but of course it's still going to sacrifice its focus sash. The the Iron Bundle goes first, able to go for that freeze dry and remove the Great Tusk from the fray. You know, who needs a Tailwind when you can get the boost from your Quad Drive?
Okay, so that is, so that's where the booster energy speed does negate the Tailwind there. I wasn't too sure with Great Tusk that, that's on me because it is somewhat of a middling speed tier, and depending on, say, Adamant Nature or depending on Jolly, now we hit out. Unfortunately, Collin finds out in Game 3, but it's not like he can make any adjustments, and now his Terra has been used in this matchup.
Yes, that's really true. Unfortunate turn of events there for Collin, but we have seen him come back from worse. Let's have a little look here at the Iron Bundle. Now, it's in a position that has the benefit of the Tailwind here as well, so it's going to be able to face down against both these Pokemon. Great Tusk has had its Focus Sash broken, so possibly something like the Freeze Dry here is going to be able to really hurt against Aurelia's Pokemon.
Yeah, and they both are booster energy, so it is huge that the Tailwind is up right now, so you are actually faster than it protects being used on both sides, though.
Yep, going to see some protects here, just trying to stall out this turn of the Tailwind. Dragonite going to go for the Extreme Speed, however, into the opposing Iron Bundle, do a good chunk of chip damage against it, as it's able to retaliate with an Icy Wind of its own. Not going to be able to catch the opposing Iron Bundle, however, so it's still going to be able to have that benefit, and Dragonite is down and out. So now Collin down to just 2 remaining Pokemon.
Yeah, the Iron Bundle protecting on Collin's end meant that as Tailwind peters out here, that was your last turn that you guaranteed had the speed advantage from the opposing Iron Bundle. So going for a protect instead of an Icy Wind on your own end, which still would have been super effective into the Great Tusk as well, meant that now it really is a toss-up between who is faster.
This is it. It comes down to it. That speed control between these two players. This is the last game. One of them will then advance into the top 8. It's going to be Collin Heier's Iron Bundle here, going for the Icy Wind. Doesn't get the KO on the opposing Great Tusk, but will, of course, get the speed drop.
Yeah, and then obviously because they're slower, now the Flutter Mane is going to have a potential speed advantage. It's not faster than the Iron Bundle because it's naturally faster, but it is faster than the Great Tusk, and the spread attack gets it.
Oh, that is an amazing moment for Collin here. Gets the double KO. We know there's a very, very unhealthy-looking mouse hold in the back for Aurelien, which isn't known to pack a punch anyway. It can't even touch the Flutter Mane, so this seals it up for Collin.
I think this is why everyone can understand why 50% of the player base in Australia are using Flutter Mane and Iron Bundle. I think this exact scenario says it.
It definitely does. Huge congratulations to Collin Heier, who will be advancing into the top 8 here at the Oceania International Championship.